Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're going to get into Pocket Detective Season 1. This will be a gameplay video of this. Now, we're not going to go through the full gameplay of this just because it's a spoiler-heavy game. From what I understand, you play through one time, I believe. And even if you could play through multiple times, I wouldn't want to spoil a whole lot of it. So we're going to do about 30 minutes or so of actual gameplay, so we'll see where it ends up edited for y'all, but that should give you a pretty good idea of how this works. So we're gonna get right into it. Before we do, I want to mention our sponsor, StoneValleyGames.com. This is your friendly distant game store. You can go over there. There's a link in the description below. They have all kinds of great games, the new hotness, old classics, old hotness, new classics. Go check them out. They have a number of very cool programs as well, a loyalty program for return customers. If you live in the continental United States and you order $100 or more from them, they will ship to you for free. And if you're in the U.S. military, stationed overseas at an AA, AE, or AP address, they'll ship to you for free as well. So go check that out. There is a link in the description below. So now let's get into Pocket Detective Season 1. We're just going to go ahead and open it up right here. And you can see right here we've got 1, 2, and a 3. So we will just go ahead and start with 1. And from what I understand, you pretty much are able to just learn this game, as you play it. Obviously, do not reveal cards from this side of the deck. You will learn information which might spoil the plot of the game for you. To begin playing, turn the deck over and read the introduction on card A0. All right, so let's do it. Let's jump right in. Okay. So here we go, A0. Read this before proceeding. This deck of cards will guide you through your investigation. Attention, reveal and flip cards only when instructed to do so by other already revealed cards. So now flip this card. Players take turns. When it's your turn, select a lead, open, or flip the corresponding card. Other players may offer their advice, but the decision is yours. When you have followed every lead from a card, you can cover it with the next one. If a card has multiple leads, you may follow all of them, one per turn. Time and attention icons in the top left corner of opened cards will be deducted from your score. Time is -1, tension is -10. When you think you know what happened, visit DA's office G1 to present your views on the crime, proving this will come later. Reveal A1. All right. Captain's memo. Good morning, detectives. A murder was committed today on the university grounds. The DA is anxious to hear our version of the events as soon as possible. We can't let the press get ahead of the official investigation again. Reveal A2. Place cards A3 through A7, I believe that is, according to the layout without revealing them. Place all other cards into separate decks based on their letters. So let's see. So reveal A2. So there's A2. So we got starting layout, some decks, reveal cards. When everything's in place, flip this card. All right, so technically, G is right here, but we're just going to put it here just so I don't have to adjust the camera. And so so the camera's not too far away from everything. All right. So now that everything is laid out, flip this over. Thursday, the 11th of April morning. As you arrive at the university, you are greeted by uniformed officers. They brief you. Victor Crow's body was found around 7:15 a.m. by a janitor. The door to the office was ajar. The forensic team and the medical examiner are already at the crime scene. All right, so do not flip this card until you have finished investigating the cases and answer the DA's question. All right. So we can talk to the medical examiner about the body, attempt to turn on the phone, thoroughly examine the crime scene. You interview the chancellor's secretary. The late Dr. Crow was well known for his scientific achievements. After he had been hired by ChemFact, the university had to appoint him a subdepartment chair in order to keep him as a lecturer. Dr. Crow's close friend and colleague, Dr. Carl Wood, was previously a candidate for that chair. Victor's wife's name was Anne Crow, and he had recently started mentoring a grad student named Lisa Hampton. Flip this card to learn how to find them. Visit the victim's house. His wife will probably be there. Looks like it'll cost 2 time, and we go to E1. Talk to ChemFact CEO, 2 time for F1. The chancellor wants to speak to you about Carl Wood and also Lisa Hampton, 1 time for D1. There's some CCTV footage from the front door camera in the security office. The guard from last night is also waiting for you there, D5. All right, then here we've got warning. Time and tension found on leads are only estimates. Icons in the top left corner of revealed cards are the only ones that will count towards your score. This card contains an explanation of how valuable time is in the game. The value of time. It takes at least 10 time to obtain enough information to charge the correct suspect. The best results are obtainable for no more than 5 time extra, 15 time total. Uncovering all of the relevant information will take 50 time. In this case, your score will be below average even after taking tension into account. All right, so where to start? Talk to medical examiner about the body. You know what? Let's do that. Let's get that information first, I guess. So flip this card. ME's report. Blood evidence indicates the victim was killed in his chair. Presumable cause of death, stab wound to the heart, presumably with the knife left at the crime scene. Time of death around midnight. Autopsy should narrow it down. No signs of struggle on the body. Facial expression undisturbed. The watch, wallet, and wedding ring weren't taken, so probably not theft. Autopsy report C2. Since autopsy takes time, this lead is only available if at least 7 time are already in play. All right. Well, now let's thoroughly examine the crime scene. We can flip the card for that, but there's also a fingerprints report, C1. Well, let's do this first. Okay. Oh, I see. All right. So on the glasses here, I guess that's maybe where the fingerprints report is, C1. Oh, and is that already because we thoroughly examined it, so that's a time right there. Oh, look. Okay. See, it shows that there's the dust here shows that maybe there were 3 other glasses and now there's just 2, or maybe these glasses were there previously and moved. I don't know. All right. Let's look at the fingerprints report, though. So C1. Fingerprints at the crime scene. Prints on the knife found at the crime scene. No match in any database. Crime scene examination revealed victim's fingerprints along with several other sets. No match was found for any of these. So, victim's fingerprints along with several other sets. We can actually move this out of the way. Okay, so this card can be revealed only if 7 or more. Oh, that's the C2. That's the ME's report. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and see what's going on with this phone real quick. Recent calls. So Anne. Who is Anne? Yeah, Anne Crow. So Anne is his wife, which was the last phone call that he made, and nobody answered. Unless that means that the call is coming in. Let's see. So boss in the morning, then Liza, then Anne, Liza, Carl, Anne, Carl, Chancellor, Liza, Anne, Carl, and then Anne. Okay. So let's visit the victim's wife, E1. So 2 times, that puts us at 3 times so far. Ann Crow opens the door. She reacts to the news of her husband's death with genuine surprise that you can't help but notice a hint of satisfaction. She invites you in. You can interview her to go to E2, or you can canvass the neighbors. I mean, let's interview her first. Ms. Crow tells you that Victor recently started staying late at work. As for the late night, he had a tradition to meet with his old friend Dr. Carl Wood on Wednesdays in his office for a glass of wine. We can search the house for one time, investigate Ann Crow for one time, or ask Mrs. Crow about her alibi. We're going to ask her about her alibi. So E9. Ann Crow's alibi. Ann confesses that she drove to the university last night. She suspected her husband was having an affair with a student. She saw that the lights were on in Dr. Crow's office but couldn't enter the building. The door was locked and the guard seemingly ignored her knocking. Mrs. Crow phoned her husband twice, but he didn't pick up. So those were incoming calls that we saw there. Process Mrs. Crow's fingerprints. I don't think we need to do that yet. So do we investigate her, search the house? I think what we'll do is canvass her neighbors real quick. You talk to the neighbors. Several people suggest that the Crows had some domestic troubles. Dr. Crow often came home late, blaming his workload. Mrs. Crow wasn't very happy about this. Some neighbors heard loud arguing, during which Ann Crow accused her husband of having an affair with his student Liza, mentioning that she had seen Victor with Liza together at a cafe. All right, so where are we at? We're at 2, 3, 4, 5 time. I Let's go talk to the Chancellor before we dig too much deeper over here. D1. Oh, wait, there's some CCTV footage of the front door camera in the security office. The guard from last night is waiting for you there. Let's do that first. D5. You check the CCTV footage. A guard in a Chemfax security uniform tells you that he has the morning shift. Night guard was his colleague by the name of John Davies. Mr. Davies said he was feeling unwell and went home immediately after his watch ended. That's interesting. You can review the footage from the CCTV camera overlooking the parking lot outside the front door. It was the only open entrance and should have recorded everyone going in and out of the building. All other doors and windows are protected by intruder alarms, which were not triggered last night. Well, so she said that she showed up and then called twice, right? So 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. We'll look at D7 first. At 10:03 p.m., red sedan with an unidentified female driver arrives. The car and driver leave after about 20 minutes. So her alibi checks out as far as that goes. So I think we can leave her alone. But let's... I think we should see the... Let's check. I kind of want to see all this footage. But let's check just in order. D6 for... This is 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Victor Crow leaves the building at 8:06 p.m. and returns at 8:47 p.m. No phone calls during that time. Oh, with a takeout bag. Dr. Wood meets him at the front entrance, having arrived earlier by car. Dr. Wood. All right. Well, let's see if we can figure out when Dr. Wood leaves. 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. is D8. At 2:32 a.m., the camera captures a cat fight, a literal one. Nothing else worthy of note happens during this time period. And then D9 is 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. At 6:54 a.m., Dr. Wood rushes through the front door, starts his car, and drives away quite unsteadily. It seems like you have good reason to have a serious conversation with him. E5. All right, so we'll do that after. So that's we'll do that, but after we take a look at the report, the medical exam. Autopsy report. Death occurred due to a stab wound to the heart, most likely inflicted by a downward strike with the right hand. Time of death, April 11th, between 9 and 11 p.m. So he was already, possibly already dead when these phone calls were coming in. Conduct additional tests, test for toxins, test for drugs and pharmaceuticals, or test for alcohol. Well, we'll see if that's necessary. We'll come back to that. So, yeah, E5 to talk to maybe we talk to the Chancellor first to see what he has to say about Carl Wood. Yeah. So, D1. You spoke to the university chancellor. He says that Dr. Crow was rather well known for his scientific achievements. After he had been hired by ChemFac, the university had to appoint him to a sub-department chair to keep him as a lecturer. Before that, the prime candidate for the chair was Dr. Carl Wood, Dr. Crow's close friend and colleague. Well, we knew that already. Dr. Wood should be in his lab. Lisa Hampton is somewhere in the sub-department. Dr. Crow's colleagues are in the staff room. Well, okay, that feels like a little bit of a waste of time, so we'll leave that alone for now. Let's do this, E5. Dr. Carl Wood opens the door. He looks very upset and distracted. Dr. Wood takes in the news of Victor Crow's death without much emotion. He claims he saw Dr. Crow last afternoon. They drank some wine in Victor's office. He has no idea what might have occurred later. Let's ask him about his alibi. E8. Carl Wood's alibi. During the interview, Carl Wood admits to waking up in Dr. Crow's office exhausted and finding a bloody knife on the floor next to his hand. He vaguely remembers Victor telling him that he was about to obtain evidence that the CEO from ChemFac was responsible for dumping chemical waste into the river on a regular basis. Process Dr. Wood's fingerprints. Investigate the ChemFac CEO. Well, we definitely had to process Dr. Wood's fingerprints. So, C9. Dr. Wood didn't mind being fingerprinted. His prints matched the prints found at the crime scene as well as the prints on the murder weapon. Okay. Okay, so let's investigate him further. Where was it? Investigate Dr. Wood, B3. B3. Profile, Carl Wood, 56 years old, single, has been a lecturer at the university for considerable time, research advisor to the victim, solid reputation among the scientific community. His co-workers report him making public statements about being unhappy with how Victor Crow managed his sub-department. Examine Dr. Wood's finances, process Dr. Wood's fingerprints. We already did that. Okay, we're gonna check out his finances. So that'll be B4. Carl Wood's financial history. Dr. Wood's financial activities contain nothing unusual for a single man of his age and occupation. His last purchase was made in a pharmacy at 7:20 p.m. on the night of Dr. Crow's murder. Visit the pharmacy to investigate the purchase. Or do we just... Yeah, let's do that, though. F10. Dr. Wood's purchase. You examine recent sales at the pharmacy. According to their records, Carl Wood purchased a prescription for rheumatoid arthritis medication. Where do we go from here? We haven't even talked to Eliza yet. But we got his prints on the murder weapon. That seems so easy, though. I think we're gonna you know what, we're gonna screw it. Let's do it. We're gonna go here and we're gonna see. Can we just go to G1, right? District Attorney is waiting for you to name a murderer. You must immediately, on your next turn, reveal a card corresponding to your version. Liza Hampton, the victim's grad student, Ann Crow, the victim's wife, Dr. Carl Wood. So that's what we're going with. Dr. Carl Wood, G4. You announce that you intend to charge Dr. Wood, the victim's friend. Upon examining the case, the DA expresses his doubt that the murderer would have spent the night next to the victim's body. He is disappointed that you jumped to the conclusions too early and tells you to resume your investigation and find the real perp. Whoops. All right. Okay, so then let's come back over here. Let's investigate the ChemFact CEO. Because Carl Wood said that he was obtaining evidence that the CEO was responsible for dumping chemical waste in the river. Brian Turner, 55 years old, divorced, 2 adult children, has been ChemFact's CEO for 4 years, has considerable influence in this town and thus considerable potential for making trouble. Examine his finances, ask him about his alibi, process his fingerprints. Let's just check his finances first. Let's move this out of the way since we're not going after her. So what is it? B6. Brian Turner's financial history. Mr. Turner, according to his financial history, is a man of many indulgences. One recent transaction looks suspicious even for his level of expenses. Several days ago, he withdrew $70,000 from his account. Well, now let's go talk to him about his alibi. Brian Turner is clearly not happy with your inquiry. If he proves to be wholly innocent, your superiors will not be happy that you bothered him. Still, Mr. Turner informs you that he was at a ChemFact company dinner at a nearby restaurant until 11 p.m. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. F6. If Brian Turner is charged in connection to the murder, ignore this card during the final score. Okay, that's good at least. So Let's go to F6. Security footage verifies that both ChemFact CEO Brian Turner and Dr. Victor Crow's grad student Liza Hampton were present at the ChemFact dinner. Mr. Turner showed up at about 8:30 p.m. and left after 11 p.m. Ms. Hampton arrived at 7:20 p.m. and left around midnight. Neither of them left the restaurant during this time. And where's the autopsy? Showed up at 8:30 and left after 11. So it actually couldn't be him. And Hampton arrived at 7:20 and left around midnight. So also couldn't be them. So that right there is a good place to stop. You can see how this, takes you in certain directions and takes you down some certain leads, and things aren't exactly what they appear to be. I will probably finish this right after I turn off the recording and see who the actual murderer is. But we're going to stop there. And yeah, this is a pretty cool little system. I mean, obviously there was nothing to learn. You just start playing, and that's really cool. And there's 2 more mysteries in season 1, apparently. If you think this is a cool thing, go check it out. Be sure to check out our upcoming videos. We've got how to play Frosthaven, how to play Australia coming up, how to play Perdition's Mouth, and how to play Lands of Gowser. So be sure to check all that out. And until next time, if you're bored online, board offline.